The incredible moment a poor boy asks a millionaire for scraps. Discover how it changed his life. In a small town where the sun rarely shone on the gritty streets, lived a 12-year-old boy named Jake. His world was a dance of struggle and resilience as he worked odd jobs and skipped meals to support his single mother, who poured her heart into waitressing long hours at the local diner. Every day he rushed through school, eager for freedom in the afternoons when he would slip into the sprawling, glitzy neighborhood just a stone's throw away. The high-rises towered above him like majestic giants, their windows glinting like the dreams that fled his grasp. But one ordinary Wednesday turned extraordinary. Feeling the bite of hunger pangs and the weight of responsibility on his frail shoulders, Jake took a deep breath and waded up to Mr. Thompson's mansion. The reclusive millionaire, draped in mystery, had become the stuff of legend and gossip among townsfolk. Braving the whispers of disbelief and judgment, Jake knocked at the grand door, expecting rejection. To his astonishment, Mr. Thompson, his face a canvas of surprise, opened the door. For a moment, their eyes locked, Jake's hopeful, Mr. Thompson's shadowed by solitude. I was wondering if you had any scraps left from those big dinners you host," Jake stammered, voice trembling. It was a raw, vulnerable request birthed from hunger and desperation for something better. Mr. Thompson, initially taken aback, raised his brows in intrigue. Slowly, he stepped aside and invited Jake in. The grandeur of the dining room was overwhelming, the gleaming chandelier, the sumptuous aroma of roasted herbs. Still, as they sat together, with the weight of the world pressing against them both, they began to talk. Each bite Jake took brought pieces of his soul to the table. "Life isn't just about money, you know," Mr. Thompson murmured, his voice cracking. "It's about connection." In that moment, Jake realized this was bigger than food. They shared laughter and tears, a boy chasing hope and a man grappling with ghosts. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As they shared meals and stories, Jake learned about the burden that riches can carry. In exchange, Mr. Thompson found warmth in Jake's unwavering spirit. They forged an unexpected friendship, stirring envy and whispering doubt among the townsfolk. Could a rich man understand the trials of a poor boy? Yet, just as Jake saw flickers of hope, dark shadows began to surface. Mr. Thompson's past and the secrets that tied him to loneliness threatened to unravel everything. With hope ignited and courage swelling in his chest, Jake would need to decide. Could he help mend the pain that haunted his mentor while also building a better life for himself and the community? The answers awaited, just beyond the horizon. As the days turned into weeks, Jake's visits to the grand mansion became a regular part of his life. Each time he stepped beyond that gilded door, it felt like entering another world. A world where laughter echoed off the high ceilings and the aroma of home-cooked meals filled the air. Jake felt lighter in Mr. Thompson's company, a reprieve from the burdens he carried. Mr. Thompson began to open up, sharing stories from his youth, memories of simpler times before wealth intertwined with loneliness. Jake listened intently, soaking in each word, as if Mr. Thompson's life lessons were threads weaving into the fabric of his own existence. "You know, Jake," Mr. Thompson said one evening, a hint of vulnerability in his voice, "I once wanted to change the world for the better, but I lost my way." Jake's heart raced at the weight of those words. How could someone with so much feel so empty? He realized they were both seeking something, the boy a sense of belonging, the man a glimpse of hope. They weren't just filling stomachs, they were filling voids in their lives. One afternoon, armed with newfound courage, Jake suggested they do something for the community together. "What if we started a food program, a way to feed those who need it?" he proposed, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Mr. Thompson paused, deep in thought, as if Jake had unleashed a dormant dream. Would he dare to step back into a world of connection, to reach out to others instead of hiding behind his walls? "I like the sound of that, Jake," Mr. Thompson replied slowly, a smile breaking through his usually solemn demeanor. "Let's do it." In the days that followed, a fire ignited within them both. They planned meals, gathered donations, and spread the word about their initiative, Community Meals for All. Jake's excitement was contagious, igniting interest among townsfolk who had once whispered their doubts. On the day of the first meal service, the long tables were filled with vibrant dishes, laughter, and rich conversation. But as they served, Jake noticed familiar faces, people from his neighborhood, those who had once walked past him without a glance. It was surreal yet grounding. Mr. Thompson, standing beside him, stirred a pot of chili, and Jake saw joy replace his usual solemnness. They were creating something beautiful together, hearts reunited through food. Yet, as they wrapped up that first day, an unsettling thought crossed Jake's mind. Would this beautiful beginning be enough to shield Mr. Thompson from the weight of his past? Would the ghost that lingered in his eyes allow him to savor this newfound connection? Jake took a feeling the weight of uncertainty settle in his chest. He knew they had taken a step forward, but the shadows from Mr. Thompson's past loomed large. Was it enough to build the bridge he desperately wanted? With a heart full of hope, Jake turned to Mr. Thompson. "We need to keep doing this together." And as they cleaned up together, an unspoken understanding passed between them. What lay ahead would require more than just their efforts. It would demand trust, resilience, and the courage to face the darkness of their pasts. But as Jake looked out at the smiling faces gathering around their tables, he could feel something shifting. Hope whispered secrets of promise in his ear. Together, they might just be able to mend what was broken. What would it take for them to confront the shadows that lingered? And could their newfound friendship survive the looming specter of Mr. Thompson's secrets? Jake was about to find out. The first few weeks of Community Meals for All set a bright tone in the town. The chatter around the table, the warmth of shared stories, and the laughter created a mosaic of connection that spanned the gaps between their lives. But beneath the surface, Jake sensed the fragility of the change they had initiated, a flickering candle in a storm. One afternoon, as autumn leaves twirled like confetti past the mansion's windows, Mr. Thompson invited Jake for coffee. The air was thick with unspoken words, a silence that felt heavy. They settled at the kitchen table, and Jake could feel the tension in Mr. Thompson's hands, clasping a mug that held more weight than just hot coffee. "Jake, about the food program." He began, but trailing off left a chasm in the air. Jake felt his heart pound against his chest. This was it, the moment of truth. "What's on your mind?" Jake asked, leaning forward. His voice trembled, but he kept his eyes steady. The connection they had built hung in the balance. Mr. Thompson sighed, as if letting out a deep breath he'd been holding for a long time. "You've seen the joy we're bringing, but there are things about my past that still haunt me. I fear that my darker days could overshadow what we're trying to create." Jake searched Mr. Thompson's eyes, sensing layers of pain embedded behind the surface. "You're not alone in this, sir. We're in it together," he reassured him, reaching for his mentor's hand. The older man's fingers tightened around Jake's for a moment before he released them. "There were choices I made, people I hurt. I've built walls around myself for so long, and now, stepping back into the light, it scares me." Jake's heart sank. The shadows had names now, people whose stories were intertwined with Mr. Thompson's. "What can we do?" he asked, his voice earnest. "Maybe sharing your story could help. Both of us. We can be open about your past." A flicker of hesitation crossed Mr. Thompson's face. "Jake, I'm not sure if that's wise. I might push people away instead of bringing them together. They deserve to know the truth, Jake argued, his voice vibrant with conviction. And I want you to feel free again. We can tell them about the changes we're making. After a long pause, a soft smile formed on Mr. Thompson's lips. You're braver than I ever was, you know that. Jake chuckled lightly, the fear in his chest easing. Maybe it's time for both of us to be brave. As they set to work, Jake felt an exhilaration that was almost intoxicating. They began plotting a community gathering, an event not just for food, but where Mr. Thompson could share his story, raw and real. An opportunity to connect over shared humanity rather than past mistakes. The idea thrilled Jake, yet weighed heavily on Mr. Thompson, whose brows furrowed with uncertainty. With each passing day, the anticipation grew. Both excitement and trepidation danced in their hearts. Would the community accept Mr. Thompson's true self? Would they see beyond the man they thought he was? The sun was setting the evening before the gathering when Jake sat in the mansion's garden, his mind racing with possibilities. He felt an unusual mix of hope and fear escalating within him. What if things didn't go as planned? His gaze shifted to the horizon, where the vibrant sky began to merge into deeper shades of blue. Change was brewing, and it was about to hit hard. Jake had to trust, even when doubt crept in like dusk. Soon, the moment of revelation would arrive. But could Mr. Thompson find redemption? And would their effort hold enough strength to turn the tide? Only time would tell. Jake clenched his fists, ready to embrace whatever came next. The air seemed heavy with expectation. What awaited them at that gathering could shift everything in unexpected ways, and Jake's heart raced at the thought. The day of the gathering dawned crisp and golden, shadows dancing softly across the ground as if the world itself was holding its breath. Jake arrived early, pacing the makeshift setup in the community hall. Long tables were draped in bright tablecloths, adorned with flowers that Mrs. Jenkins had picked from her garden. The smell of roasted chicken filled the air, mingling with the sense of fresh bread and vegetables. It was inviting, meant to warm hearts and bellies. As guests began filtering in, Jake's nerves flared, a tight knot in his stomach that threatened to unravel him. He saw familiar faces, neighbors he grew up with, friends he hadn't spoken to in years. Yet in the context of the evening, they felt like strangers. Would they be open to Mr. Thompson's truth? Suddenly, a gentle tap on his shoulder pulled him from his thoughts. It was Mr. Thompson, looking more pale than usual. His hands trembled against his sides, and his usual confident demeanor seemed to waver under the weight of expectation. "Jake," he said, "do I really have to do this?" Jake felt for him. They had discussed this moment over and over, but the reality of it now loomed large. "You do. They need to hear your story. We need to hear it," Jake replied, offering a reassuring smile. The hall was filled now, laughter mingling with chatter, the buzz of anticipation palpable. Eyebrows raised and whispers started to flicker as the townsfolk noticed Mr. Thompson's presence. Jake noticed Mrs. McKinney's scowl from across the room. She had always been skeptical of his past, and Jake wondered how she would take the news. Finally, it was time. As Jake took the stage, he motioned for everyone's attention. The noise began to fade, but uncertainty lingered, hanging like a veil. Jake cleared his throat, his palms slick against his notes. "Thank you all for being here," he started, his voice shaking but resolute. "Tonight, we're not just sharing food, we're sharing ourselves. Mr. Thompson is going to tell us his story, a story of struggle, change, and hope." As the moment of truth approached, Jake stepped aside, allowing Mr. Thompson to take the center stage. He looked out at the sea of faces, each one reflecting a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Mr. Thompson stood tall, though his voice trembled as he began to speak. "I've made mistakes. Some of them cost me dearly, and some cost others far more than I can express." His words were raw, pouring from a place that had long been locked away. The hall quieted, tension thickening the air. He shared tales from his past, the choices made in desperation, the lives he had hurt while chasing success. He spoke of guilt that lingered like a shadow and the heavy walls he had built to shield himself from pain. It was more than Jake had anticipated, every word pulling at heartstrings, revealing the humanity behind the facade. Then something shifted. As Mr. Thompson shared his journey of redemption, murmurs spread through the audience. Faces softened, and tears appeared in the eyes of those who heard his truth. Jake watched as Mrs. McKinney wiped her cheeks, torn between the man she had judged harshly and the one standing before them now, a man showing vulnerability and strength. The change was palpable. A wave of compassion swept through the crowd. "I want to make things right," Mr. Thompson said, his voice steadying. "And I'm starting by being here, by sharing myself with all of you." The room erupted into applause, voices calling out expressions of support, a sound like the first gentle rain on parched ground. Jake's heart swelled with pride. They'd taken that leap together. They'd embraced both the light and the dark. But even as the audience cheered and celebrated, he couldn't shake the thought. Was this only the beginning of healing for some, and would others still harbor resentment? As the gathering progressed with laughter and connection, Jake caught Mr. Thompson's glance across the crowd. There was light. In his eyes, a belief rekindled. Yet the night was far from over, and questions lingered in the air. Would acceptance translate into true forgiveness? In that moment, Jake realized they were not just fighting against the past. They were stepping into an unknown future. What secrets still lay buried in the hearts of their neighbors? Would every story they shared really bring the change they so desperately sought? The night's journey had only just begun, and the fabric of their community was poised to be sown anew. But at what cost? The applause still reverberated through the hall, infused with a sense of new beginnings. Jake watched as Mr. Thompson took a moment to absorb the crowd's acceptance. There was an undeniable spark of excitement, but for Jake, the thrum of hope was mingled with anxiety. The room was filled with so many people, each carrying their own stories, their own burdens. Would everyone truly embrace this chance for change? As the clamor settled, Jake glanced around, catching snippets of conversation. People were still discussing Mr. Thompson's revelations, echoing their thoughts back and forth like a game of catch. Some were nodding in agreement, others still looked skeptical, brows furrowed in contemplation. Jake caught Mrs. McKinney's gaze once more. She was whispering intently to her husband, an expression of disbelief etched on her face. "Do you think it's worth it?" whispered a voice beside Jake. It was Chloe, a girl he had grown up with. Her long curls framed her face, but her eyes were fixed on Mr. Thompson. "Worth what?" he responded, still watching the scene unfold. "Reaching out," she said quietly, her voice barely above the chatter. What if he just opens old wounds? Jake thought about it, wounds that were buried deep. Sometimes wounds need air to heal. If we don't talk about it, they just fester, he replied, trying to convince himself as much as her. Chloe looked doubtful, but before she could answer, Jake felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Mr. Thompson, his expression a mix of exhaustion and relief. "You did well, Jake," he said, a grateful smile breaking through. "I was terrified, but it seems we're in this together." Jake nodded, but his heart raced. He couldn't shake the weighty question. What did "together" truly mean, moving forward? A burst of laughter drew his attention back to the group. Someone had recounted a funny story from their youth, and suddenly the air shifted. The responsibility of the evening lightened as laughter began to stitch a different kind of connection among them. "Come on, let's mingle," Mr. Thompson said, pulling Jake from his contemplation. They began moving through the crowd, sharing smiles and encouragement. People stepped forward, eager to connect. They felt lighter, transformed, as if Mr. Thompson's bravery had given them permission to shed their own layers of regret. Yet, as they moved deeper into the crowd, Jake noticed a figure standing apart. It was Lucy, her back turned to them, arms crossed tightly. A storm brewed on her face, the contrast stark against the buzz of the hall. Jake felt a twinge of worry. She had lived through her share of Mr. Thompson's decisions. "Excuse me," he said to Mr. Thompson, who nodded, sensing the urgency. Jake approached Lucy, hesitating for a moment. "Hey, Lucy, you okay?" She turned slowly, her expression a mix of anger and hurt. "Do you think it's that easy? Just because he tells a sad story and everyone claps, it means we should forget everything? He hurt people, Jake. You know that." "I get it," he said, trying to maintain eye contact. "But maybe this is a chance to understand. Maybe it's about healing, not forgetting." She scoffed, crossing her arms tighter. "Healing, huh? Some wounds run deep. You think you can just fix it all with a story?" Jake's heart sank. "Lucy, I don't have all the answers, but if we stay stuck in the past, nothing changes." As they stood there, the crowd continued to celebrate around them, laughter ringing out like bells. But the weight of Lucy's words hung thick in the air. Jake felt torn between wanting to bridge the divide and the fear that there were too many scars to overcome. "Maybe it's not about fixing," Lucy finally said, a softness creeping into her voice. "Maybe it's about learning to live with it." Could they truly learn to live with the pain? Would the gathering bring more understanding or just deepen the divide? As night closed in around them, Jake couldn't help but wonder if everyone's stories would finally intertwine, or if they would break apart even further. And as he turned back toward the hall, a wave of dread washed over him. What if the very act of sharing their stories opened doors that should have remained shut? With his heart beating heavy, he scanned the crowd, searching for answers in the faces around him. What would happen when past and present collided? The applause began to fade, but the tension remained, almost palpable. Jake felt as if a heavy fog had settled in the room, thickening with uncertainty. He glanced back at Lucy, who still stood rigid, her worry etched deep. "Lucy," he said softly, "I know this isn't easy for you. You've been through so much." She shrugged, her gaze shifting away, as if avoiding the gravity of his words. "You think I'm just going to join in and pretend everything's fine? That I can cheer for him like everyone else?" "No, I don't," Jake replied gently. "But maybe we can find a way to talk about it, open up about what we feel." "The last time I opened up," she said, bitterness lacing her words, "I got hurt. Some of us don't have the privilege of just moving on, Jake." Just then, Mr. Thompson walked over, a few members of the crowd trailing behind him, eager to greet him. He looked from Jake to Lucy, a puzzled frown knitting his brow. "Is everything okay here?" he asked, concern flickering across his face. "Just having a little chat," Jake said, gauging Lucy's reaction. She crossed her arms tighter, a silent fortress. "Oh," Mr. Thompson replied, his demeanor shifting as he picked up on Lucy's tension. "It's important we talk. I know I can't change the past, but I want to try to understand." "And why should we believe you?" Lucy snapped, her voice rising above the crowd. The people nearby started to take notice, glancing over with keen interest. "Because I'm not here to tell you that it will be easy," Mr. Thompson said candidly, his tone calm and unyielding. "I'm here because I believe we can start a new chapter, together. I know it's going to take time, and I can't promise it won't hurt, but I promise to listen." There was a pause, a collective breath held in the air. For a moment, Lucy's fierce exterior wavered, the wall she had built seemingly beginning to crack. Jake felt a flicker of hope. Could this be the breakthrough they had all been yearning for? "Fine," Lucy said finally, her voice quieter now. But talking isn't enough. You have to own what you've done. A story isn't going to erase the hurt. And it might not erase it, Mr. Thompson acknowledged, but it can give us a chance to understand, to empathize, and maybe, just maybe, to forgive. There was a pause, a collective breath held in the air. For a moment, Lucy's fierce exterior wavered, the wall she had built seemingly beginning to crack. Jake felt a flicker of hope. Could this be the breakthrough they had all been yearning for? "Fine," Lucy said finally, her voice quieter now. "But talking isn't enough. You have to own what you've done. A story isn't going to erase the hurt. And it might not erase it," Mr. Thompson acknowledged, "but it can give us a chance to understand, to empathize, and maybe, just maybe, to forgive." Jake could feel the tension ease slightly as the crowd's attention shifted back toward Mr. Thompson, curiosity dancing in their eyes. "What if we start with one story?" Thompson suggested, glancing around as if inviting everyone in. "What if I tell you about when I got it wrong, about the choices I made that hurt people? It won't fix everything, but it might open the door." Lucy's expression was challenging. "And what if your story doesn't change anything?" "Then we'll keep sharing until we find something that does," he replied with conviction. The crowd began to murmur softly, processing what had just been said. Jake watched as faces shifted from skepticism to intrigue. A small glimmer of possibility sparkled in the air, intertwining with the laughter that had initially filled the hall. All around, people were leaning in, eager to hear. "I'll go first," a voice called from the back. It was Mrs. McKinney, the disbelief on her face now giving way to something softer. "I have a story too, one that changed the way I see everyone around me." As others joined in, each voice adding layers to the evolving conversation, Jake felt a strange mixture of fear and hope surfacing again. Would this cascade of stories shift the course of their lives? But just as the first person spoke up, Jake felt a sudden tug on his sleeve. He turned to see Chloe, her eyes wide. "Jake, do you think this is really going to help? What if it just tears us apart more?" Before he could muster an answer, an unexpected silence fell over the crowd as someone from the back of the hall stirred, their voice cutting through the air like a knife. "You think you can just tell us stories and that will make it okay?" The words dripped with resentment, stirring the atmosphere back to a simmer. Jake's heart raced again. What if this entire effort was about to unravel? In that moment, it felt as if every story and every confrontation hung perilously in the balance, ready to either unite or divide them further. What would happen now, with emotions laid bare and tensions rising? Would anyone be brave enough to speak? The room held its breath. The voice, steady and cold, caught the attention of everyone nearby. A tall figure stepped forward, his brow furrowed and fists clenched. "You can't just share your woes and expect us to be fine. It doesn't work like that." Jake felt the heat rising in the pit of his stomach. The challenge hung in the air like a storm cloud, ready to unleash. He glanced at Lucy, whose face reflected a mix of defiance and uncertainty. He wanted to jump in, to defend the fragile hope that was beginning to build, but he couldn't find the right words. Mr. Thompson met the man's gaze, unwavering. "I understand that it feels like we're asking for too much, but it's not about easy fixes, it's about understanding." "But understanding doesn't pay the bills," the man shot back. The crowd murmured, their eyes darting between the two. "We need action, not stories that might lead us down a rabbit hole of more pain." Suddenly, an elderly woman in the front stood up, her voice trembling yet firm. "You're wrong. Stories are how we connect. They are how we heal." A ripple of agreement spread through the audience, with quiet murmurs of yes and hesitant nods. Jake felt a spark of courage, a small fire igniting in the midst of anxiety. "I agree," he called out, surprising himself. "What if we shared our hurt together? What if we listened and helped each other instead of shutting one another down?" The room quieted again, uncertainty mixing with curiosity. Chloe's grip on his sleeve tightened, and he could feel her apprehension. But when he looked at Mr. Thompson, he saw a glimmer of approval in his eyes. "What if we start with truth?" Jake continued, emboldened. "We all have our stories, don't we? Maybe each of us has a piece of what's been lost. Why not lay it out and see what we can build from there?" Lucy's demeanor shifted, her posture relaxing just the slightest bit. "Stories, they do matter," she whispered, and the admission hung in the air, fragile yet full of potential. "Exactly," Thompson encouraged. "So let's begin. Who wants to share?" Silence enveloped the hall for a heartbeat, and then Mrs. McKinney raised her hand again. "When my family lost everything, I thought I'd never be happy again. But sharing my burden with others, just talking about it, eventually lit a new spark in me. I saw kindness in places I never would have looked before." Others shifted forward, compelled by her honesty. One by one, voices emerged from the audience, revealing tales of loss, regret, and moments of unexpected joy. As the stories flowed, Jake felt the dread start to dissolve. For every tale of pain, there was a hint of resilience, a thread that connected them all. But as the room began to feel lighter, he felt the weight of Chloe's gaze. "What about us, Jake?" she whispered, drawing him back to reality. "Our story, our hurt, don't we need to talk about it too?" His heart sank momentarily. They had avoided the reality of their own struggle for too long. "Maybe we do," he admitted, anxiety creeping back in. He turned back just in time to see Lucy stepping forward, a flicker of that fierce spirit returning. "I've been holding on to my hurt for too long," she said, her voice ringing through the growing hum. "Maybe it's time I let it go, even just a little." Jake's heart raced at the look in her eyes, not quite anger, not quite fear. It was the beginning of something raw. But the figure from before scoffed again, his impatience boiling just beneath the surface. "And what makes you think this will work?" Just as Lucy opened her mouth to respond, a blaring siren shrieked outside, interrupting the moment and sending a chill through the room. Panic crept into the air, leaving an unsettling question hanging. What had just begun to mend could now shatter in an instant. Would the story shared be enough to hold them together amidst the chaos that approached? Jake's heart raced as the siren echoed, a harbinger of uncertainty slicing through the warmth of shared stories. The faces around him twisted into expressions of concern, eyes darting toward the windows where shadows danced against the glass. Chloe clutched his arm tighter, the tension in the room flipping like a light switch, hope to fear, warmth to chill. "What's happening?" Lucy demanded, her voice barely above a whisper, hanging heavy with anxiety. Mr. Thompson took a step back, his brows knitted in thought. "Stay calm, everyone. Let's not lose focus. This noise might be more of a distraction than a threat." But Jake could see the unspoken fears rocketing through the crowd. Would the disruption break the fragile connection they'd begun to forge? Would everyone retreat into their own shells of pain and distrust again? "I don't know if we can just sit here," Chloe stammered, her eyes wide with worry. The sirens grew louder, echoing like a heartbeat echoing in the small room. Suddenly, another voice broke through the murmurings. It was a man with graying hair in the back row who had remained silent until now. "We need to know what's happening out there. Maybe it's not just noise. Maybe we're about to lose everything again."
His words sent ripples of panic across the gathering. "We can't let fear control us," Jake said, a surge of determination propelling him forward. "We began sharing our stories for a reason. It's about community and finding strength together, isn't it? That doesn't change just because of a stupid siren." "Yes," Mrs. McKinney joined him, her frail voice gaining strength as she stood up again. "Let us not forget the kindness we have found in each other. Maybe outside chaos can't take that away." A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd, little by little gaining a chorus of courageous voices. Jake could feel the walls around them receding, the fear loosening its hold. Maybe they didn't have to succumb to panic. Lucy caught his eye, her expression softening. Maybe we share what we're scared of, right now. What if we talk it out? Jake nodded, his heart swelling with hope. Yes, let's hold on to this moment, together. One by one, people began to share. A young woman spoke of her fear of losing touch with friends. Someone else feared failure in their careers and the shadow of their past mistakes. Each vulnerability served as a thread, weaving them together into a collective tapestry of shared humanity. When it came time for someone to ask their question, it was Chloe who spoke up, looking unexpectedly fierce yet vulnerable at the same time. What if we're too busy hiding our hurt to see the hurt we're causing others? How can we change that? The room fell silent, all eyes on her, the breath between moments an electric pulse. It was a question that required depth and strength to answer, one that could unravel as much as it could heal. Jake admired her bravery. But just then another shriek of sirens cut through, louder this time, as shadows skittered past the windows. Instinctively, Jake turned to look outside. He caught a glimpse of flashing lights and figures rushing forward, uniformed and urgent. The tension crept back into the room like a cold draft. As whispers of concern began to whirl again, Lucy reached for Jake's hand, her grip fierce. What if what's outside is just the beginning? What if our stories are all we'll have left? A heavy cloud of dread settled among them as their fears swirled back around. Would their stories hold them together enough to face whatever storm was coming? Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. With all these lives hanging in the balance, he knew he had to address the fear that lingered. And so he stepped forward once more, ready to respond, to guide them through the confusion and uncertainty. But as he opened his mouth to speak, the door swung open and he was met with an unexpected sight. How would they respond to the change in atmosphere? Would the fear that had crept into their hearts find a way to become resolve? Jake took a breath, trying to steady himself as that door swung wide. The bright lights from outside spilled into the room, illuminating the anxious faces gathered around him. A figure stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the chaos that raged beyond. Tall and imposing, it was a man in a uniform, flanked by a couple of others who appeared just as serious. "Everyone, please stay calm," the officer called, his voice raising above the din of the sirens. "We need to ask a few questions. There's been a significant incident reported nearby, and we want to ensure you're all safe." Chloe's grip tightened on Jake's arm, her eyes wide. He could feel the tension radiating off her. "What kind of incident?" she whispered, panic sparking in her voice. The officer hesitated, scanning the room before continuing. "There are reports of disturbances in the neighborhood. We're investigating but need to ensure your safety first." Chloe's grip tightened on Jake's arm, her eyes wide. He could feel the tension radiating off her. "What kind of incident?" she whispered, panic sparking in her voice. The officer hesitated, scanning the room before continuing. "There are reports of disturbances in the neighborhood. We're investigating but need to ensure your safety first." Jake caught Lucy's worried glance, her face pale in the harsh light. He felt a swell of protectiveness, an urge to shield everyone from the weight of uncertainty. "Is there anything we can do?" he asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil around him. The officer shifted, glancing back outside at what seemed to be an unfolding scene of urgency. "Stay inside for now. We'll notify you once it's safe to leave." He moved to close the door, but before he could, Mrs. McKinney raised her frail hand. "Why are we going to be safe here, officer?" she croaked, every syllable dripping with gravity. "What's happening out there?" The officer nodded in acknowledgement, but seemed hesitant to share too much. "The situation doesn't appear to be turning violent, ma'am, but we advise caution. It's always best to err on the side of safety." The murmurs of concern began to swell again, more pronounced this time. Jake stepped back, absorbing the gravity of the room. He could feel the fear building and knew they'd reached a fork in the road. This was a defining moment. They could either fall into panicked whispers or unite in the light of their shared fears.
"Listen," he started again, his voice cutting through the rising tide of uncertainty. "We have to stick together. Let's not allow fear to tear us apart now." He looked around the room, catching the eyes of those who were beginning to look more frightened than before. "What if," Jake continued, "we tell each other why we're scared? Not just the worries for ourselves, but the worries for our families and our friends, our community." Seeing a flash of understanding in Chloe's eyes stirred something in him. "Let's remember that sharing those fears isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows we care. We're in this together. We've been opening up for this exact reason. This moment counts." "Yes, like before," Chloe's voice broke through, her determination growing. "We can hold on to our stories and lift each other up. We're not alone." Slowly, heads began to nod, and more reluctant voices pulled together their worries and hopes. Each shared story built upon the last, a mosaic of trust taking shape against the backdrop of chaos outside. Then Mr. Thompson, propelled by the others, resolved to share too, his voice firmer than before. "I'm scared too, but knowing I'm not alone makes it easier to breathe. We can find clarity together." Just as the sentence hung in the air, the lights from outside dimmed slightly, and the sirens echoed once more. But now they felt different. With each voice that rose, Jake felt a protective barrier forming in their tight-knit circle. But just as hope began to flourish, the officer stepped forward again, his expression grave. "Everyone, we need your full attention now. There may be another disturbance, something you should know." Fear prickled under the surface, a palpable tension returning. What revelation lay ahead that could alter the course of this tenuous unity? Would the outside chaos shatter this fragile web they'd woven, or would they rise to meet whatever storm was coming? Jake's heart thudded in his chest. The room settled into a tense silence, everyone's attention locked onto the officer. Sweat formed along his brow as he awaited the next words, knowing they could tip the finely balanced scale of hope and fear. "We have reason to believe that a confrontation may escalate if we do not respond decisively. We're urging all of you to stay put for your own safety. Communication is key. If you hear anything concerning, please let us know immediately." The officer's voice echoed in the room, filling it with a mixture of dread and urgency. Jake felt Chloe tense beside him, Lucy's grip tightening in response to the officer's words. But instead of panic, something shifted in Jake. They had faced so much together already. This would be another challenge, another chance to stand strong. "Let's remember, we're a community. We faced the darkness and took steps towards the light. Together," he said firmly, his voice stronger than he felt. "We can't let anything divide us now." Around the room, faces reflected that shared strength. Slowly, one by one, voices began to rise again. Each person spoke of fears not just for themselves, but for their families, friends, and community. Stories filled the space, weaving their shared humanity into fabric that could hold them together. Mrs. McKinney spoke about her grandchildren, eyes glistening with the thought of what might happen if they were caught in the chaos outside. "I fear for them," she said, her voice trembling, "but I trust in us. Together, we can be their strength." Her words prompted others to voice their own worries. Mr. Thompson shared the weight of his past, reflecting how the decisions of his youth left a mark on him and those around him. "But I've seen light in this community. I've felt the warmth of love and kindness, which gives me hope even now." As they spoke, Jake led the conversation, knowing each thread would bind them tighter. "Let's think about what we're going to do. We can't just wait here," he urged. "What if we prepare ourselves, gather supplies, and make sure everyone's safe?" "Yes," Lucy jumped in, her eyes brightening with resolve. "We can help that way too. Let's form a plan." With renewed energy, they began to collaborate, writing down ideas, assigning roles, figuring out who would check on neighbors, who would gather supplies, and who would communicate updates with the officers. It was beautiful to see, a growing sense of purpose amidst fleeting fear. Every word shared, every story told, pulled them closer together. Despite the creeping shadows looming just outside, they were pushing against the darkness, determined to create a light of their own. Just as plans began to materialize, the officer stepped forward again, his earlier seriousness morphing into a cautious admiration. "It's incredible to see you banding together. That strength is invaluable. Don't underestimate the power of community." His eyes flickered around the room, silently acknowledging their tenacity. And then, as if reading from a script crafted by fate, he continued, "We'll be in constant communication with the situation outside. Your safety is our priority. We'll need people to stay connected and vigilant." In that moment, Jake's heart swelled with pride. They had leaped past the brink of uncertainty into action. This was about more than survival. It was about connection, healing, and hope. Finally, they moved like a well-rehearsed team. People began to split into groups, the togetherness transforming into collective action, each individual feeling more empowered than before. As they organized efforts, the weight of fear drifted a bit farther away, and the threads of connection grew tighter. While eyes darted toward the windows, poised for any sign of change, conversations flourished. However daunting the future felt, they were sharing vulnerability, lifting each other, finding strength in storytelling, and weaving their lives into a patchwork united in hope, understanding, and action. As they worked, the siren's wail softened to distant echoes, and Jake dared to believe that this community wouldn't just survive the storm. They would emerge on the other side changed, not just individually, but collectively stronger, more attuned to each other's stories, fears, and hopes. In the end, they would remember this night, not as a moment of fear, but as a defining chapter in what made them a true community. It wouldn't erase their struggles or past pains, but it would remind them that healing happens together. And as that realization washed over Jake, he took a deep breath, grounding himself in the love and strength surrounding him. This is what it meant to truly connect, a bond forged in fire, ready to withstand whatever tempest lay ahead. Now, more than ever, was the time to believe that together they could build a new reality, one filled with understanding, acceptance, and hope. And as the murmuring whispers turned to the gentle hum of purpose, Jake knew this was not the end, but just the beginning. If you felt the connection, if you understood the power of unity,
stories, the urgency of community, and the importance of moving forward in love, then now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next inspiring stories that can change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help bring more powerful content to those who need it. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformative journey and how we can all come together. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation in action. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.